parenting. Some people will tell you they have the formula figured out, that they know how to parent. Well, what we found is 3 fathers of all different children coming from different backgrounds, is we don't know. We have no clue. We're just trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Let's dive in. Bruh. What's up, everybody? My name is Kasey Goins.
I'm Bob Koerber.
And I'm Brent Maddron.
And we are
Juxtabros.
Different peas, same pod. Yeah. Here we are.
It's episode 2.
Episode 2.
It is episode 2 already.
Man, I'm pumped.
I am so pumped.
I really am, guys.
You know, that first week, it was an experiment. We didn't really know what to expect. We were trying to push it out there and just try to understand exactly what we're doing. Bob's the only one that has any experience doing this whatsoever. Right. But I think it was a good. It was a really good introduction. I felt like it was. And if you felt like it was, comment below and let us know. And here's what we have found, that we've had a lot of people come up to us and say, hey, it was great. We really enjoyed it, but they might not have liked it. Or they got on Facebook and just watched the video and then didn't get out and like it. What you need to understand is it helps us. It helps this show. It helps us grow an audience. It helps the algorithm. So like, share. Subscribe,
comment,
all those things. It really helps. So last week we ventured off onto the topic of choices. Mm-hmm. This week,
parenting.
We're going to talk about parenting.
Something
we have no clue.
Nah, amen.
we have a clue as to what, because we're all dads.
We're all dads,
but we still don't know what we're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. At least I don't know. We're still learning. You know what's crazy is I'm thinking now. It's weird how you get this different perspective as you're older. But I think now about like my parents when they were my age, and how when I was younger, I was like, man, they just knew. They had the answers. Yeah. And I think of myself and I'm like, they didn't have a clue, and I don't have a clue. And I'm understanding that.
Just shooting from the hip.
Shooting from the hip. Yeah. We don't know, man.
But what I guess I thought of my parents when I was growing up is like, they don't know anything. Yeah. And like, they have no idea. I'm going to do my thing. Yeah. And as I got older, as I got dumber, they got a whole lot smarter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love those saying, the older I get, the smarter my parents get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
it's true.
That's so true.
It is very true.
So true, man.
It is. And for us, I guess, just the life cycle of it is, being a teenager, you know everything. You know all of it. You've got all the answers. And as the older I get, I'm just like, man, I don't have a clue as to what I'm doing. But I'm enjoying it.
It's fun.
Yeah. It is fun.
Like, I think both of y'all are 33. Is that right?
I'm 34.
You're 34?
34.
You're 34.
Yeah.
I will be 44 in April. And it's just, man, you do have fun. Like, a week and a half ago, Bob's mom brought his dad's handicap scooter to the house because he needed some storage space for it. So, today I'm outside playing with the kids, and I catch a look at that handicap scooter, and I'm like, Mika and Kenley could really do some business on that thing. So we get on it, and that thing doesn't really have a slow brake.
Oh no,
it's like it's not like ease off. Like you brake, Kai's nose was like, meh. I mean, it was all up in it. It was great. We had fun, but man, parenting, although it is fun, it is challenging.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Challenging.
Absolutely. That just reminds me, it's a little off topic, but it does remind me of being at your place. You were there, I think, but Pastor Ken and Connie were not. And there was a golf cart that didn't run. But we decided we're going to go ahead and just try to ride it down the hill. Coast it down the hill. We got it down the hill, but the brakes were locked up, and we were trying to get it back up the hill and not get caught. I don't know how we did it. We did end up getting it back up there. I think you were laughing at us, so.
I could have been. That was in my. I wasn't even California or Colorado sober. I was completely high back then. So I do not remember that instance whatsoever.
I just remember telling you snitches get stitches. And don't tell us, please.
I'm sure that got said.
Probably.
But I think we all. I have 4 kids. Brent told you last week he has 2. Yeah. Bob has 2.
I have 2.
Varying ages. I think from 3. I'm the oldest, and Bob, you have a 1-year-old, but I also have a 3-year-old.
Yes.
Brent's girls are.
Yeah, my youngest is 11.
11.
And Anne's the oldest, 16. So yeah. I tell you though, talking about Bob, when you brought up just you at your parents' age, right? like I still like Ansley's in high school. She's a sophomore, and like that's when me and her mom started dating, right? My wife.
Yeah.
And I still like picture myself as that guy. You know what I'm saying? And then here I've got one that is that age.
Separating yourself from that cool high school kid like the 34-year-old dude.
Yeah, I don't see the what's it called, crow's feet and stuff.
I still have a soundtrack playing when I pull up places. Like, you know what I mean? Like that desired song. I'm like, let me find this.
Yeah.
That's what I would pull up to.
Oh,
and everybody just thinks, oh, man, he's cool. And then I'm like, man, I am an idiot.
Yeah.
Such an idiot.
Yeah.
So awesome. That's what we're dealing with. So what we know as dads is that, we hear it all the time. We're in church all the time, and there's a lot of people that think they just know how to parent. And what I've found is that there's different parenting styles for every single person. Every kid's different. Every parent's different. Yeah. Your way is not necessarily going to be my way. There's moral truths. There's ways you should lead your kid, but everybody interacts with their kids differently.
Right.
Your relationship with Harper is beautiful. You'll have conversations with Harper that you share all the time.
Yeah.
That are absolutely hilarious.
Tell the one about about who she prayed for, wanted to pray for the other night. This is good.
That is funny. So we pray every night. Me and Harper pray every night. And so I've made it a point that regardless of how tired we are, that's something that I want to instill into her. And so we start off with Thanksgiving before we pray, right? For several reasons. I think the main reason is because I want, and I talked a little bit about this on Sunday, I do want to instill that sense of gratitude in her to know, like when we come to Father God, like let's come with gratitude. I asked her, what are you thankful for? So she started off, and somehow we got in the Pilgrims. We were thankful for the Pilgrims.
Oh man!
And turkeys and
sure everybody except the Indians are thankful for the Pilgrims.
That's true. I'm like, okay, all right, yeah. She was kind of like going with that and food and drinks and that, and she was kind of just sticking with it. And I said, baby, we need to come up with something new each and every time. I want you to think of something new, specifically today, what you're thankful for. And she said, I'm thankful for baby Jesus dying on the cross. And I said, whoa. Okay. Well, Jesus did, but adult Jesus did. But baby, that sounds so much worse.
Yeah.
When you look at it in the perspective of
combined Easter and Christmas.
Like,
right
the Christmas version didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was the Easter version. That version did. Same Jesus, just much older. And somehow that makes it better and easier to digest. But still, I was just like, oh, man. So it's never a dull moment.
I love it, too, because kids are just so innocent, man.
Yeah.
They're so innocent.
They really are.
And man, I got to get a kick out of that Sunday when you tell me at church.
And now a quick word from our sponsors.
Speaking of parenting, you can't be an effective parent if you don't have a home.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you want to upsize, if you want to downsize, if you're looking to buy your first home, you know who you can call?
James Lacombe, Caldwell Baker.
That's who you call. Great guy. He'll get you in a home.
Click the link in the description now.
Now back to the show.
Just the other day, Harper's notorious for like stepping on my genitals. You know, I mean, like she's just got a gift and finding it like from across the room. She can just like throw something and it land. I mean, it's just like I'm like, man, you don't want me to have another kid. Like, so I'm always telling her, I'm like, baby, I'm just watch dad's balls, right? And so she climbs up into my lap, the other day, just we're having one of those, just a beautiful moment between a dad and a daughter, and she crawls up and she's cuddling with me, and she's got her iPad, and she goes, Dad, I said, yeah, and she goes, what are balls? And I'm like, oh man, now I got to navigate this. I'm like, well, you know how girls have butts and front butts. And she's like, yeah, because she calls them front butts.
Yeah.
I was like, well, guys have butts and balls. And she's like, oh. So they're like right there? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, okay, well, now I know. And I'm just like, oh, well, okay. But still, it's a very awkward conversation to have.
It is. Luckily, Kinley, she'll ask some of these questions. She asks, and I don't pull any punches when we talk about things like that. I mean, I'm not graphic, But my opinion is they're going to learn about stuff like that, and it's funny for me.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
The thing it's kind of funny. But my youngest son Kai, he is on he's cussing a lot here lately. Like, I don't know where he gets it from, but he's 3 years old. Kenley's like, Kai's saying the H word, and I'm like, well, hello? Is he saying hello a lot? And she's like, no, the H word. I said, help. Hemorrhoid? Is he saying that? What's he saying? What H word is he saying? She's like, he said hell. He said, and like he used it correctly.
Yeah.
Like you heard him at the church.
Yeah, he did say
He
it.
said, what the hell? And I was like, no, I mean.
He's not saying what the help.
Yeah, like,
it's
at
not.
3 years old, you shouldn't know how to say that word accurately in a sentence.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's what kind of kids we're raising.
Yeah. And nobody, you don't, there's not a handbook for this.
There's not.
Nobody prepares you for questions like that.
No.
And for situations, like that. I'm a musician. You're a musician. When I listen to music, most of the time I'm just listening to the song, like the music. I'm dissecting, and I'm really into this band Lawrence right now. I love Lawrence, one of my favorite bands in the world right now. They're incredibly talented, but they do have a couple cuss words in some of their songs. Yeah. And so Harper says, hey, let's listen to that song, Don't Lose Sight. That's one of her favorite songs. She's kind of into it, but it does say in the song, and I didn't realize it until I heard her say it.
Yeah.
She's getting it. She's singing it while I'm getting it loaded up, and it says, I try to give him hell, but I won't let it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, honey, let's do this. Let's do this. I said, how's this? How about when they can say that part, but when we get to that part, we'll say, try to give him love.
Yeah.
We try to give him love.
Yeah.
And because hell is, it's not really a good word, and we don't really need to be saying that. And so, okay. And then I was like, so let's do that, all right? And she goes, no.
I like it that way.
Yeah. She said,
it sounds
she
better.
said, I like the way Gracie says it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it like, she said, you can say love, but I'm going to say hell. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, what do you do? What do you do?
You try not to overreact.
Right.
Because if you overreact, they want to do it more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kids are fun. But, man, I'll tell you what they are, too, is like as they get older, Brent knows this. My older kids, Kaylee and Chloe, they know two different Kaseys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know Kasey, that was where they had to come to prison to see me. They had to do all that. They played with the other kids that their dads come to see them. They got to see that Kasey, and then they got this one.
Yeah.
And I think it should be known too that they're not biologically mine.
Right.
So they got to see both Kaseys. Kenley and Kai, they only know this Kasey.
Yeah.
They only know Pastor Kasey, Dad Kasey. They don't know any of that junk. I've had to explain to Kenley because people tell my story more than I do a lot of times. So she's like, Dad, what's jail?
Yeah.
What'd you go there for?
Yeah.
And I think your kids are at that age where they knew both Brents.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, there's a lot of trust that goes in, but when you hurt somebody that young, a trust has to be built.
Oh, there is. And, I think like with me, because I've always been there. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm never, up until my episode when I did get on drugs for, right at a year, let's just call it there, a year and a half, But, yeah, like, my kids have seen the piece of crap, Brent, because, that's ultimately what I was, you know what I mean? But now that they're getting this side of it, right? They're getting this side of it. And, something I really battle with a lot is, like, did I taint them? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like what's ingrained, you know what I'm saying, in their head? And, man, I've got two awesome kids.
Yeah, they're great.
Two kids that are exact opposites of that.
Polar.
Total opposites, But, I think the way I try to move forward now, though, is, hey, I'm going to try to be the best version of me I can be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, like, try to show them, like, hey, yeah, I was a piece of crap, And my kids are cool. Like, my kids don't throw it up in my face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm
very blessed. Like, I don't have nothing like that,
Yeah.
But the best thing I can do is kind of like what you said, the nightly prayer, like ingraining stuff in them.
Yeah.
I try to, hey, when crap hits the fan, The first thing we do, we pray.
Right.
We pray.
You know what I'm saying? Something they never seen out of old Brent.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, I've said this before, man. Up until I turned my life around, I'd never prayed with my wife.
Yeah.
I've been together 19 years, dating and married 19 years, and never prayed with her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so that's just what I try to really ingrain now into them is, and just hope that, hey, they'll get something out of this Brent
Right.
versus pulling crap off from the old Brent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But here's what I know, and this goes from kids Lyra's age, your youngest, all the way to Kaylee and Ansley's age, and in between, is that they learn far more by watching your actions than listening to your actions. So even if Kyle might have said the what the hell, I could have said the what the hell.
Right.
You know, there's no telling. Sometimes I might talk a little different, but what I do know is that I talked way too much when I was bad, Kasey, and they didn't want to hear it anymore. They wanted me to show them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so what I have learned is I'm just going to lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to lead. And when I say that, I don't mean it in a misogynistic way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to lead my family and let them see I'm the man that God wants me to be. And that's
what you're
it.
called to be.
I can't tell you that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
I told for way too long.
Yeah, I think that consistency is the most important thing in all of that. That's one thing that I know that I get on Harper's nerves. I know that I get on my wife's nerves, but I mean, 100 times a day, babe. Harper's like, what? And I'm like, I love you. I love you. And she's like, don't say that to me ever again.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I said, no, I will say this until the day I die.
yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. I tell her all the time, I say, you're beautiful. Because I want her to know
That's right.
her worth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what you were talking about, you know, praying with your kids and stuff, I bet for a minute that was really awkward for them.
It was awkward for me, Bob.
Yeah.
To play with my kids.
Right.
I bet it was.
You know what I mean?
One of the most awkward moments that I've ever had was my wife asked me to pray for her.
Yeah.
Before, and I was just, okay. Do we call somebody?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Where's D at?
Yeah. Dude, call some, I mean, like, I don't feel the most comfortable praying out loud. But I remember my dad saying, hey, let's pray as a family. And I just remember it just being the weirdest. It didn't feel natural, you know. But I know at least now with Harper, it's like that. Like she expects it.
Exactly.
It's an expectation.
Exactly.
Now.
That's
I
something
can't
we're
go to
going
bed
to do.
until we
And
I pray with Dad.
that's stuff like we instill, right?
Yeah.
Like, so Aislinn had a tryout the other day for a softball team, like pretty legit softball team, right? And we're getting off the exit the other night to go to this tryout, right? And we know where it's an indoor hitting facility, and we know like where it's at. But I turn like right instead of turning left, I turn right and pull like a Cracker Barrel parking lot. And Kate and Ace is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We're gonna pray about this. We're like gonna give this to God right now, and whatever. If you don't make the team, you don't make, but we're gonna give it to God,
Yeah.
And man, old Brent,
We never did that.
no, man, I would have went in there and,
And it was an expectation for you to not do that.
well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. Like I would have been, this is whatever it takes to get her on the team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just trying to, I think as far as what we instill in our kids is big. Because, man, I remember a lot of stuff from my childhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, like, I still carry on today. That ain't necessarily good stuff, right?
Well, that's since we're on the topic of instilling in kids, how much of our parenting style do you think comes from how we were parented?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what, and I'm going off maybe, and my wife would tell you that she was not parented, so it is landed heavily because she wanted her kids to have everything she did not have.
Right.
So it was not an example of them doing good. It was an example of them not being there that made her turn into a great mother.
Yeah.
So how much do you think that your parenting style, I mean, for the good or the bad or both, and I think it's both.
Just all around, man. Still to this day, I'd still say I'm still hanging on to 60, 70% of, you know what I'm saying? And that's another thing, too. We brought up last episode, culture, right?
Yeah.
Like, how me and Katie just grew up right down the road, but that comes to how she was parented versus how I was parented, and how me and her still parent different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's another thing.
We still parent different from each other, and it's, it's not necessarily her ways good and my ways bad, or my ways good and her ways bad, It's just, hey, she was brought up and parented this way, and I was brought up and parented this way. You know what I mean?
And that's it.
And that's hard. I'm telling you guys, that's
so how
hard.
since you said that, how drastic are the different parenting styles in your household?
Well, that's a great question. I'm
drastically different, I should say.
Okay, I'm the fun parent, and I'm the enforcer.
Yeah,
that's different.
Wow. So I am both of those.
Yeah.
I have this way with Harper. I'm like the Harper whisperer, and it's no matter how mad she is or something, or how hurt or crying or distraught, because she sometimes. Like she's 5 years old and I already think her and her mom sync up sometimes. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Just wait. Just wait,
dude. So, but I mean, there are just times where Kelsey, she's like, "You're just gonna have to do something. I don't know what to do." And I just walk in there and just sit down like next to her with a puppet, and I'm just like, and she's just like, "Ah," she's like all laughing and everything. But in the same right, I whoop her. Yeah. And I whip my kids.
That's what you're whipping.
I whip. Now let me tell you, I don't.
You don't whip mad.
No.
That's something I've had to
never do.
Because here's my dad was great at not whipping when he would whip me because he told me he was going to. I want to whip when I'm mad, but I don't want to whip if I'm not mad. Right. So I'm trying to find that balance where I know I can't whip mad.
I'm also not the type of person, when I count to 3, when 3 happens, it happens.
Yeah.
She knows it. I don't say 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4, 2 5/8. I don't even know math that well. Yeah. So I know she understands. If I say 1, immediately she says, all right, let's, whatever it is.
Yeah. There's a consequence.
There's a consequence. Yeah. I understand that because she understands whether it's whooping or not, Dad's going to follow through.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing I can. So much so that I've whipped her a couple times in her life, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
To where now she understands if I get even close to 3, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't have to whoop her now. Yeah. And so, but Kels says no, she agrees with that. But here's something that we disagree on. I have a 1-year-old Lyra Bell. Okay. We went to the Mexican restaurant down here, Delia's, with my mom.
That's good. It's good
my
place.
Mom, me, both of the kids. We're having lunch. Just nice little time, except for the fact that Lyra can be a terrorist. She's at this stage in her life where we're trying to wean her off of cat food. If you guys got,
I've seen a little bit.
She was eating cat food when you guys walked in.
I don't know how good she's weaning. But that being said, it's not gonna hurt her. But
I don't think. I mean, it's got
at least
nourishment.
It's not catnip, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I have a fat cat, so she's gonna be all right. Yeah, she's good.
Hey, ain't it catnip like makes the cats high? Ain't that what that is?
I've seen a cat on cat. I had a cat on catnip that was doing flips, and the only person that was a witness to that is no longer living. So you're gonna have to take my words for it. He was literally doing backflips in art. Yeah. But here we are, Mexican restaurant. Lyra's being Lyra. She decided she does not want to sit in her chair. Also, she does not want me to eat my food or anybody else. She wants to get down and run across.
Yeah.
Now, when I was her age, I did it all the time. That was great. My parents were just like, whatever, he's good. Right? But also, I can't just let my kid run all over, So, what did I do? I've got 3 bites left of my thing. I'm not about to get up and let it get cold, right? I need nourishment too. Okay?
You got to eat it.
So, I'm holding her with one hand. I can't, she's, so I had a Coke Zero. I set it up here, let her drink from the straw. She's occupied. I'm showing it in, right? Okay, we're done. Great. Kels, absolutely not. You cannot give her, you can't give, so it's like those are 2 things that like we don't agree on.
Right.
And hey, parents out there, it's Coke Zero. I don't care. I don't care what you think, Red Dot 40, I don't care. It doesn't matter. She stopped.
Yeah.
I could eat.
I got to do it.
I could eat. And then we were good. Then I let her run around everywhere. So, but I mean, you gotta, there's some give or take. But I think what's really important, because you were saying you have 2 totally different styles.
Yeah.
I think it's important to try not to confuse the child.
That's right.
To where it's like one parent is right and the other parent is wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you discuss that off to the side.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I think that's where, hey, maybe mommy doesn't like this, but that doesn't mean that dad doesn't have authority, or vice versa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To where, because my daughter's such a stickler for the rules that Harper's the one that I don't have to worry about her. Like, she will police herself.
Yes.
Absolutely not. Like she is, if it's against the rules, she's absolutely not doing it. She's a rule follower, and she tells on me all the time. She told on me for the Coke thing, the Coke Zero thing. She said, well, Daddy let Bebo have, like, hey, snitches get stitches.
Yeah. Once again,
one, two, she's like, no. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's really important though. Yeah. I think you got to have some balance there, some compromise.
You do have to have balance, and like me and Tiff, she would tell you, and like I said, my oldest two girls, Kaylee and Chloe, are not biological, but they're mine.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And here's the thing: is like Tiffany will tell you, I have very little patience for Kinley, my 6-year-old. Very little patience. We're a lot alike. Like when you said you only had to whip Harper twice.
Yeah.
And she understood.
Yeah.
Like Kinley gets whipped twice before school. Okay. I mean, before school, and it doesn't faze her. She is so hard-headed and stubborn, and me and her are like going to box all the time. And Kai's just Kai, like he's a feral child, I think.
Yeah.
Not Will Ferrell, like a feral child.
That's
like,
why I asked if you had any experience with, your kids eating cat food.
Oh, wait, he has, we don't have cats. Yeah. If we had cats, he would definitely eat it.
He would probably eat the cat.
He might eat the cat.
He might eat the cat.
He might. He definitely, he
he's
bites.
wide open, ain't he?
He's bit Neelan. Neelan is our golden doodle. He's bit him several times.
Oh my gosh.
Like, Neelan bit him, he bit him back. Like, he's going in. So, but I say all that to say this is like, she is very good at handling the smaller children.
Yeah.
She talks to them. She communicates with them better. Mm-hmm. Kinley's still a daddy's girl. It's weird, but she communicates. Now, the older two girls, although they're not my biological children, they are mine, they will come to me before they'll come to their mom with anything, unless it's a female issue.
Yeah.
They're going to come to me to talk because I've built that trust there. And not that they don't have trust with their mom.
Yeah.
It's just there's a different dynamic there.
Yeah.
And I handle the older kids better than I do the younger kids. I'm always even keel with the older kids. My younger, like Brent will call me, or you might call me sometimes, and I'm about to have a stroke.
Right.
Dealing with Kinley or Kyle. I'm like,
I always get a chuckle because like we're in the mid conversation, you're like, put the hose down.
God, get off the table.
Yeah.
You can't use a chainsaw.
Or you hear something and then like the whole house and you go quiet, then you hear Kai back there screaming. And you're like, what happened? He's like, he just fell off the back of the couch again. And then you know what's funny is you hear Kinley running in like, Daddy, I swear, like I told him not to. Yeah.
You know she told him to do it.
Yeah.
So, and it's weird, but speaking on like step kids, and I hesitate even saying step kid.
Yeah.
Because I love them.
Yeah.
Like they're my kids. But speaking on step kids, I think that Brent has a stepdad.
Yeah.
That I think he's more of a dad than he is
absolutely.
ever a step. Yeah. And I feel like those parents, those step parents, those parents like that, those are the outliers.
Yeah.
We live in a world where there's not very, very much closeness with step parents.
Yeah.
And like I have a relationship with my oldest two daughters that I can never dream about having. And I think there's no formula, I think that, but what I will say is I've never treated them any different than my own child.
Yeah.
Never treated them any different. And, there was never another kid that I said, oh, my kids, I treat Kinley and Kai different.
Right.
Yeah.
They know that they're my kids.
Yeah.
I would die for them just like I would die for Kinley and Kai. And so they know the difference. And they know the difference. They had a dad that at times was not a very good person.
Yeah.
So they know I have been there every step of the way. And that's not to throw shame on him.
Right.
I could have been that very bad person unless I was changed by God.
Right.
That's right.
But they know that I love them. I listen. So, and I don't know your relationship with Brian, why it turned into that, but probably had a lot to do with the way he looked at you.
And I mean, he Brian don't have his own kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm it, and I'm my mom's only kid, so I'm the only kid. But there was never any times that I ever felt like I was not part of, or I mean, he stepped in, and he become the dad of the house. You know what I'm saying? And the father to me. And that's just my girls don't know no different than him as their papa. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I remember having to tell them that because they never understood. One day I think Ansley asked like, "Why do you call Papa Brian?" And I was like, "Oh, how are we gonna get through this one?" You know what I'm saying? But like, I mean, they don't even know my real dad. You know what I mean, or nothing like that. But yeah, like
so they've never met. Have they? When you say you don't know,
like
they
a
don't
couple,
know
like he's tried to come. Like it's a really really rocky relationship, man. It's just a very toxic relationship. You know, like he was never really there for me. So you know. He's tried, we've tried, whatever. It's just better not. Like, I'm not, sitting
You're not
here.
bitter about it.
I'm not bitter. No, absolutely not. I forgive him and all that. Like, I mean, my goodness, I've had a good life. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they know of him. But honest to God, if they were to see him at Walmart, neither one of them would know who he was. I know a lot of good men out there and women who have took in other kids. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Bobby, I think you've experienced that. Other families take, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
all that. I mean,
just
it don't have to be necessarily a title or blood or nothing like that, man. There's some real inspiration people in my life that just were other friends.
Into you.
Yeah, that other friends' parents. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I still look up to this day. You know,
I think when you ask the question, like, what have you taken from your parents? I think there's a lot that. At least I can say for myself that I've taken from a lot of people.
Right.
There's some things that I've taken from your dad. And honestly, like your dad and I, we had a great relationship, but we didn't always get along.
Yeah.
And that was, if you would have known me as a kid, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the kid, my relationship with him a lot of times was him walking into a room and just seeing what I was doing and just being like, just going back.
Yeah.
But there was one time in particular I kind of want to point this out. We were in I was at the Christian school, and he was the principal. And he was the principal, and he was very strict on the dress code, and you got to do that. And I could not get my parents to buy me a belt. Okay, I had one belt that was kind of a hand-me-down, but it ended up breaking, and I could not get it. And I remember I was in the hallway, and he come in and he said, "Where's your belt at?" And I just pent up anger and just frustration as a seventh grader, and just crying and just like, you don't understand. And I watched that man take his own belt off,
wow,
and give it to me, and I'm just like, man. And I said, "Where's your belt?" I'm just. I didn't.
One of us got to follow the rules here.
Yeah, and I've got the belt, and you don't. No, I didn't. But that right there was. I mean, that just showed me. I mean, he was willing. He was willing to enforce something, but he was willing to sacrifice in order to enforce that.
Yeah.
And that's a super, super important thing as for a parent, whether you're a dad or whether you're a mom. I can only speak for me being a dad. And there are things that I've learned that I'm like, okay, I wouldn't approach it that way again. And there are so many times when Harper comes in, she's like, "Hey, Dad, let's do this," and I'm tired, but I want to take every opportunity that I can right
they grow
now.
up like
so
that.
I'm like, so whether I'm tired or not, let's go.
Let's go.
And the things that I post on Facebook too, I do that for a reason. And it's not so that other people can come in and say, "Hey, you're a great dad," which I've had people tell me that, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah,
absolutely. I want to be a good dad.
Yeah.
I want to be a great dad. But more importantly, I want Harper to think that I'm a great dad.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think
that's right.
Right now I'm dealing with a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
That's my oldest.
Yeah.
You guys have
one that's about to get married.
You have one that's about to get married.
Yeah.
You've got one
16.
in high school, 16.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you dealing with boys?
Oh, God.
My goodness.
Before we get into that bull crap, all right?
Come on.
Preach.
You just brought up something. You're like, hey, you want Harper to think you're a good dad.
Yeah.
I was watching, and I know you watch Jordan Peterson some.
Yeah.
He was doing an interview, and they're like, hey, what does success look like? Mm-hmm. And I think it was him. Is it Piers Morgan?
Pierce Morgan.
Piers Morgan, right? And it's like, what does success look like? And he's like, when my kids get out of the house, they want to come back and hang out with me. And Jordan Peterson was like, yeah, that's what success is all about. Like, who cares about material stuff, and all that. Like, when my girls get out, graduate, and go on their own, like, I want them to come back home to me, like, to be with, you know what I'm saying, to love us and want to be with us. You know? And so you bringing that up made me think of that. But back to the boys. Oh gosh, I don't think I've ever prayed as much as I have, now. But and that's so. It's to the point, man, to where I like those saying, I can't control nothing past my nose. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So just put your nose in everything.
Yeah. That's what you need to do. I like that. But and like it goes back to what we started with. The older I get, the smarter my parents get.
Yeah.
Right. Like you kind of got to live and you got to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And like with my oldest, it's like, hey, look, I know what you're going through. I know you're not going to listen to me, you know, but golly bum, I wish you'd listen to me, you know, because I've been there, done that. You know what I mean? And she's a freaking awesome kid. Man, mine are two total opposites.
Yeah.
Polar.
Like freaking polar opposites.
And all my kids are polar.
Yeah, like
opposite.
completely. Like Aislinn, my 11-year-old, is spitting image of me.
Yeah.
I mean, to a T. But now me and her butt heads.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now she's my baby girl though too.
Yeah.
Like she's just 11, so she still loves on me and all that. Now Ansley is just like my wife. I mean, looks just like her. I mean, to a T. Real kind of, you know, reserved.
Yeah.
Not not outspoken like like me and Aislinn are. You know what I mean? But now if back in the summer, Katie and Aislinn went to Florida for a softball tournament. And it's me and Ansley at the house, and it's the chillest week I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like, me and Ansley get along so good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, man, just the dating, man, I pray for them. Me and my wife, honest to goodness, pray every night. And in that prayer, I pray for my daughter's future husbands.
Yeah.
That God starts molding them into the men they need to be. But, man, that's hard. That's a hard road, especially, like I said, when you know, it's a hard road because – you know, you just like, listen to me, you know. But
and I think with girls it's different. And, you know, and I don't know this with Kai, but there's even an expectation, and you knew it growing up, that parents and dads especially were way harder on their girls or whatever. And it's not good don't be going out there having sex.
Yeah.
But boys were almost celebrated for doing that as well.
That's true.
You know, so and so that's not the way it should be.
No.
Ever. You know, Kai's going to be held to just the same standard
Absolutely.
as that.
No.
And so Kaylee, my oldest that's engaged to get married in November, she's with a really good dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he really is.
But she's 18. So you have fear.
Yeah.
You have fear, and you know, you like you said, you have all this wisdom that you've gleaned from your parents or things that you've went through. But the only way they're going to learn is to go through it.
This is true.
That's right.
That's very true.
The only way they're going to learn is to go through it. I can give them all the wisdom in the world. I can share all my knowledge. But until I walked through something, I would like to say, I accept good counsel. Even today, sometimes I don't want to accept good counsel.
Right.
Right.
You know,
right.
So that's something you have to learn.
And I think a lot of it, too, is letting go. Like, she is to the point.
Yeah.
To where she's falling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and it's so. We were talking to somebody the other day. They asked, "Hey, where's Ansley at?" And I'm like, "Well, she got her license." And they're like, "Well, good luck. Ever seen her again?" You know. And it's not. And it's just like kind of like letting go because like it's always been us four now. You know, and now it's just me, Katie, and Ace, and it's like Ansley's doing things with her friends and stuff like that, you know, and it's more or less she's getting her own identity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part, you know,
dude,
for me.
Before Bob, or like letting go, like this past Christmas, you know, Hunter's already in our family, kind of. Yeah. But man, speaking of letting go, like he was wanted to do Christmas with us and stuff, and I'm like an ornery old man, you know. Like, no, this is my last Christmas with my baby girl. We're doing it alone. You know, to the point where I felt bad about it later. But I wanted that. I didn't want to let go. I didn't want to let go of her being able to make those. And here's the thing: is I can say that all these kids are really good. Like when you talk about boys, like Chloe's really not settled in, but we have raised. And this is God, you know, because I'm only responsible for the last 8 years of living right. Maybe they learned enough from me when I was bad to say I never want to do that. But my girls are good. Now, I don't know what they're all going to be good. I can't speak to Kinley and Kai, but I'm speaking that over them that they are. That this is just them being kids. But I'm lucky, dude. Lucky.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got very minuscule problems to worry about when it comes to Kaylee and Hunter. It's just like, hey. I did tell him this. I was like, hey, you know what? Me and your mom we're paying for the pictures and stuff, but what's most important, the target date, your wedding date, is not the goal. That's not the landing strip.
Right.
That's the launch pad.
Absolutely.
That's
Amen.
it. That might be something you plan for. But if you're not doing the counseling, you're not to check boxes and to get a discount on your marriage certificate, but to sow into your marriage, because this wedding is cool and it's important. You'll look back at it, but if you're not focused on your marriage moving forward, then man, that day you could look back on them in disgust years later.
Yeah. Nobody prepares you for it. Nobody prepares you. It's so weird to me that, like, in life, you know, anything that you do, whether you have a career, anything like that, anything that you do that's worth doing,
right?
You prepare for.
Yeah.
Okay. You prepare for college. You prepare for the real world. But the two things that no one can ever prepare you for is marriage and being a parent.
Yeah,
being a parent.
Being a parent.
That's it.
Other people can say, hey, this was my experience, and that's cool. That's helpful to an extent.
Yeah.
But you have no idea until you're there.
Right.
Until you're in it and you're dealing with the issues, until you're the one, you know, that is dealing with a crying baby, and you realize, okay, I have to get up. I'm in charge of a life, dude. Nobody tells me anything.
I can't believe it.
They're just like, here, go.
Well,
and I'm like, bro, what do I do, man? Like,
it's funny too how your perspective changes, right? Like before kids at this age, you were like, by God, I tell you what I'd do.
Yeah.
You can't.
I'd do this and then you get to that point and you're like,
a screaming kid in a restaurant.
I understand.
A screaming kid in the restaurant. Have you ever been on the other side of that thinking, man, I wish she would whoop that kid.
Yeah.
I wish she would do something.
Yeah.
I'm the dad now. And I'm like, okay, and I'm thankful for mercy and grace. And now I can be and I can see a single mom, you know, with their kids, and their kids are a little bit unruly, and she's just trying to eat, and I've told him before, sometimes, hey, you're good. I promise you're not bothering us. We got kids of our own.
Absolutely.
We get it. We understand. You're good. I'm so sorry. No, you don't have to apologize. Nothing. You do what you do. Hey, we got you.
And man,
you know?
and when you do stuff like that, like, you know, I've been on the receiving side of that. You know, not that particular situation, but man, how good does it make you feel when you're on the receiving end of it?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
When you show grace, or you just acknowledge people,
just
and say,
to know,
hey,
just to know that you're being acknowledged.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's
all right.
okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And man, I tell you what, through all my years of addiction and stuff like that, like the person who done this
is the person you remember.
Is the person I remember, not the person who was. You son of, you know.
Yeah.
It's with that love and that, you know, and that grace, you know. And I try to be, you know, I went to New Union Baptist Church in McMinn County. Mo had invited me, whatever. They had a big men's conference, and that guy got up and he's like, hey, like, your number one job, like, you're daddy before you're friend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in your house, you know. And I have a hard time deciphering that, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's because of my drinking and drugging days where I really wasn't there every night. You know what I'm saying? Every day, whatever.
Overcompensate.
Trying to overcompensate. Oh, am I trying to be too cool parent now? I'm trying to love too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I battled that because like you were talking about, Kaylee and Chloe come to you. You know, like Ansley comes to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like she comes to me before she does her mom. You know, and it's like, man, you know, where do I draw that line? You know, as far as okay. You know, laying down the law, being the 1, 2, 3 dad, you know what I mean? Versus being the love. And, you know, because, you know, there's got to be grace and mercy there, too. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I feel like I'm that, like, I'm going to be the one that's having the tough conversations, you know, and I'm not looking for, I'm going to have to answer questions that I don't have the answers to. I already do, but I'm probably going to have to be the one to, like, walk Harper like through her, you know, her becoming, and I'm just sitting here like reading books, you know, like and the egg, and then I don't know what happens, but I know you don't like Band-Aids, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, so, I don't know, you know, I'm just not prepared for any of this.
And you don't, and you kind of, and you've got the kind of personality where just imagine when it years down the road when. 3, like Kaylee, Chloe, and Tiffany are all that time of the month, the month together. Yeah. And, you know, and then having that, and then having to walk that, like, I don't, there's no shame. I'll go in and get cases of tampons.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. No, I you know, I'll do that for Kelsey. I have
never, ever have I thought about it. I'll ask about it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But when you got to start explaining those things I don't even know how to explain it right now.
Right.
How to even articulate.
Yeah.
Because it's things that I look back and think, who shared that with me?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Right.
I think I learned it from people at school.
Right.
I don't remember my mom and dad having those conversations.
Do you know what my sex talk was with my dad? No. He said, son, where does the bee put its stinger at night? And I was like, I don't. He said, in its honey. And I was like, and he said, son, sex is a beautiful thing when you're married. And that was it. That was my sex talk. So
where does the bee stick the stinger at night?
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Awesome.
The night before my wedding, I had a bunch of guys where my dad was there, and I actually wanted him to be there. And he comes and knocks on the door, like I'm getting ready and everything. He's like, you got any questions about anything? I was like, nah, Dad, I think we're good. I think we're
no tutorials.
He's
today,
like, yeah, you don't, you probably got it figured out. He's like, well, and I think about that moment. I try to parent now for later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's one of those times where it's like that probably wouldn't have been a conversation like. Not then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I although I can commend him for wanting to even have that conversation, but I think at that point it's just like, we're not gonna have this conversation. Right. But
because how old were you?
When I was 28.
28
years old.
Their anniversary is a week for me and Tiff.
They got married a week before us.
Yeah.
Really?
Like 7 days, right?
So
it was the Saturday before.
So Bob, we graduated high school together, right?
Yeah.
And you 28 when you got married. Like, you understand, like I had a 10-year-old when you got married?
That's what's crazy to me. So, I mean, I can imagine. Well, I can't imagine. I can't because you were right out of high school.
Oh, yeah.
And just knowing, like, the difficulties that I went through with it and just being a teenager and going through those, obviously, I think for you, it was more. And so you came into a situation where there was already a little bit of establishment there. And then you got to decide... or I think you did with
what?
Kinley. Was Kinley planned?
No, we weren't not trying.
Okay,
but at that point, I didn't know if I could have kids or not.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was not trying at all. I was mad when I found out that Harper.
I remember when Lyra came.
Now I was that time. Yeah, that was a different story.
Yeah.
We actually did plan with Lyra, but with Harper, it was like. I was like, man, I want to learn how to be married before I want to learn how to be a husband before I can learn how to be a dad.
Yeah.
And that was something that you were kind of like thrust into.
Yeah. 2 weeks before I graduated high school, found out Katie was pregnant,
Yeah.
And, we both had awesome support on both sides.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we did. But, man, as far as I don't care how much support you got, it's never easy.
No.
It's never easy, And that's just what I try to harp into my girls and anybody else who come in contact. Like, it's never easy no matter how much, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Having a kid at 18 is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. You know what I mean? We got married, and man, we've had some hard years. Now, a lot of that was self-induced on my behalf, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like it but now the bright side of it is, man, I'm gonna be 36 and have one going to college. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm 40,
nice, man.
When I'm 40, like me and Katie's gonna be empty nesters, and
and me, when Kai graduates, or I go to school with him, they're gonna be like, "Oh, cool, it's Grandparents' Day." I'm like, no, that's my dad. That's my dad. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's not Papa. That's Dado. That's Dado.
That was kind of because my mom was 38 when she had me.
Wow.
Okay.
So yeah, I was. My sisters were done. I mean, 21, 20, and 15, they had a couple of years and Gina's gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that kind of attributed to a lot of kind of the stuff that went on. But I mean, they had to start all over.
Yeah.
Which is very, for me, it was, because my sisters were growing up. So I kind of had like a bunch of moms. Babysitters, yeah. Chris Parr. Remember Chris Parr?
Oh, yeah.
He always called my mom my grandma. He was like, so is your grandma coming? Like, your grandma pick you up today? I'm like, it's my mom. So, which I talked to him today.
Did you really?
Yeah, and we had a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's living in Nashville. He's working on a video game, and he asked me to do the soundtrack for it.
Oh, really?
So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
So yeah, we were kind of talking about that today, and but he always, when he calls me, he always says, how are you doing? And we have that if I talk to you guys and we have that conversation, how are you doing? It's a real, not like, hey, how you doing? Hey, it's like a real, like, how are you?
Yeah.
You know. And he just said something that I think I'm going to really just take into consideration, because he's a very creative person. And as a creative mind, and you know me well enough, and I know that you also deal with this too. Being a creative person, you're always kind of looking for things to fix.
Yeah.
And really just being a man, you're always looking for something to fix. And so sometimes that can be debilitating, and you can't enjoy the moment. You can't enjoy things.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to a song and I'm like, man, I would have done this,
I
should have done this, or I, if I see something,
instead of just being in the moment.
Yeah. Instead of like doing that. Yeah. Well, he said that he's really approaching life right now. That's who he is, but he's thinking in the moment, like, what does this conversation need? What does this person in front of me need? What can I do right now? Does this person need to laugh? Does this person need a hug?
What can I do to elevate whatever's going on around?
And so it's, rather than me saying, hey, I need to not be that way, that's who I am. I'm wired that way, but why don't I focus that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's cool.
That's a really cool way to think about that. So shout out to Chris.
Way to go. I don't know you, but that's interesting. Yeah. And it's extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I think an interesting dynamic, and you're only child, and you have three siblings that are way older.
All of them could be my mom.
Here's an interesting thought for me, is that I have three brothers.
Yeah.
Chris, Kelly, Steven, all grew up in the same household. Chris never touched a drug, never did anything. Never. I think he might have been saved when he was born.
He was the one.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you
one of the smartest people you'll ever meet.
I'm telling you.
But what's so interesting is that we grew up in under the same parents.
Yeah.
But my parents' parenting style shifted so much
Yeah.
over those that it created four totally different kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're not totally. We make our own choices.
Right.
We talked about that last week. But Chris, it's interesting for me to think. Chris, Kelly, all of them. I was extremely addicted by the time I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And to think about us all having the same parents and saying, how much parenting and how much choice goes there? You know, I've known some really great people that have some kids that, man, they're like poor parents. How much of that comes to when a kid's able to make a choice?
Right.
Do they listen? Do they learn? Do they look back on that? Or is all lost? I don't really know the answer coming from a household that had four totally different kids.
I think we've all kind of touched on it. I know you've touched on it, you touched on it, and I have a little bit. I think what it all boils down to is like starting now, doing what you can to live a life. As an example, being able to really just kind of live your life now, whether that starts late. And this is for anybody that whether that starts late, whatever it is. I mean, right now, taking the time right now to say, hey, I'm going to try my best to put out an example, because I have so much anxiety about that. I'm just, my brain never shuts off anyway. I have anxiety anyway just as a person, and those are some of those things where I'm like, man, like what if I can't imagine losing one of my kids.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't.
That's my worst fear.
But I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't imagine, that heartbreak, but at least Harper knows that she has somewhere where she can come to. You know what I'm saying? At least Lyra knows, because Harper is exactly her mom and exactly me, and it's so weird. It's a weird combination. Now Lyra's just me. Yeah. Like Lyra eats cat foods and poops her pants. That's me. Like all so like she's just me. And she loves food and everything. It's just the two dynamics, and just I want to be here in the moment now.
Yeah.
I want to be here now.
Well, and bringing up the in the now too, it's daggum cell phones, man.
No,
cell phones are freaking.
We could do a whole episode
straight
on that.
from the devil. Like, honest to goodness, like I spend so much time that I could be spending with my family.
Yeah.
On my daggum cell phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here's the deal: is what does Ansley learn? It's learned behavior. What does Aislinn do? Aislinn don't have a cell phone, but she got an iPad.
Yeah.
And hey, there's been some knockdown dragouts in my house over taking that iPad from like her. You know what I'm saying? Like she's addicted. Like but hey, guess what?
And as
a lot
parent,
of it's
we'll
learned
feel the addiction.
Well, because it's easy, but a lot of it's learned behavior. Because what does she see me doing?
Well, if I need a timeout like Bob gave Lyra that Coke Zero, I will throw an iPhone.
Oh, you better believe
real
it.
quick.
You better
if it'll
believe
shut
it.
him up.
Yeah.
If I'll get a little Kasey mommy time for a few minutes, watch this phone until it becomes habitual, and then it's something where I'm harping at as a dad, but I'm also endorsing too. So when we talked about it being very confusing,
it is.
That's the one thing that I'm confusing about, because I will dole it out.
You don't want me on it, but you gave it to me.
Yeah. I want you to have a distraction.
Yeah.
So I can do something Daddy wants to do.
Yeah. And that's where, like, just being selective with the distraction, and that's confusing. Yeah. The other day, we're all up here eating dinner. I'm watching something. We're all sitting at the table. And my dining room's like set up like my dining room and then my living room. So you can see the TV from the dining room. So we were watching something. I look over and Kelsey's on her phone. She's scrolling and we're eating. Yeah. And Harper's sitting there and she's got her pad in front of her. And then Lyra's over here and her thing. And she's got another pad with Miss Rachel going on. She's sitting there, and I'm like, this is okay. We got to shut them off.
Yeah.
We got to shut them off. Like, we can't, this is not
You got to be intentional about that kind of stuff, you know?
And you got to be self-aware that it's not everybody else with the problem. You got to be included.
Yeah. I'm sitting here watching too.
Many times where I'm like, you are on your phone way too much. Oh man. No, but I'm looking up stuff.
Yeah.
I'm on my Bible app.
Important.
So there's a lot of justification in what I look at as opposed to them watching a YouTube video. But the point is, it's taking time away from human interaction, family interaction. And that's important to
it is.
And as much as it is important to parent consistently, it's important to interact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, it has been a great episode. I hope you like it. If there's something we missed, if there's some parenting stuff that you felt like should have been discussed, hey, add to the conversation.
Yeah, comment, guys, and likes. Share, subscribe.
Topics.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know if you have any parenting different styles with your parent, your spouse. Let us know. We want to know these things.
We want to know because we're curious. Inquiring minds want to know, and also.
And hey, and I really enjoyed too just people coming up to me.
Oh yeah,
man, we watched the podcast.
Yeah.
So if you see us, come say hi to us. I mean, tell us what you think about it for real.
If you want our autographs,
you might want to get it now.
You get it now.
Get it now because
we're blowing up.
I'm going to have arthritis before.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but the last one had 200 and something views. So
270 and counting.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Hey, it's going. It's not viral yet. It's kind of what's the word is.
There's a little bit of a cough.
It's a little bit of a cough.
It might have had some exposure.
Yeah,
maybe.
Might need some over.
You might want to wear a mask. Okay.
Yeah. Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Okay. And just so you know, moving forward, we're going to be hitting on the third Monday of every month. Correct, Bob?
That's right.
Yep.
So be looking, be liking, be sharing, and just, guys, we appreciate you. Without you, we could sit around and talk all the time. We do. Yeah. We do. But we want this to be an interactive thing. We want to learn from you just as much because, believe me, we don't know crap.
Yeah. Amen.
We're just learning this. So, guys, hit us up. We hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.
Thank you.